Hey, Amy here with Ultimate Health Solutions. Today we're going to be talking about cellular inflammation and how it affects your cells in your body. You often hear us talking about chronic inflammation, so what is it and how does it affect our body? For starters, it's what Time magazine called the silent killer. When we're talking about inflammation, we're talking about cellular inflammation. So we're going to go straight to that cellular level. Every one of our cells has a lipid bilayer. So 2 layers of fat. Off of these walls of fat are cell receptors. These receptors are what's responsible for drawing in our vitamins, minerals, amino acids, and hormones like insulin. When you have a normal functioning cell, these receptors are going to take in the raw materials that you eat into the cell to create energy. That energy is then transposed into hormones and even antioxidants. And so they are sent out of the cell and taken in by other cells. And this happens on a daily basis without you even knowing it. So your body does some pretty amazing things. But that's a normal functioning cell. What we're talking about today is cellular inflammation, or a congested cell. That is when these receptors are actually blunted, and that means that our nutrients, or nothing else, can get in and nothing can come out. And that causes a myriad of symptoms and problems. Because when this cell is designed to absorb and secrete, when it's congested or inflamed or clogged to the point where nothing can get in or out, it's faced with 2 options. It can either adapt to its level of toxicity, and that means that it's going to mutate. And when we're talking about a mutated cell, we know that to be cancer. The other option it has is to die, and that is what we call cell apoptosis, or premature aging. But let's talk about some of those symptoms that occur when a cell starts to die off. That's when your body begins to respond with things like thyroid conditions, diabetes, hypertension, and a lot of those new millennium diseases that we see today. And that's a direct result of cells dying off. So what causes this inflammation? 3 things cause inflammation. We have bad fats, sugars, and toxins. When you eat fats, whether good or bad, your body is going to use it and bring it to this outer lipid bilayer. What happens when you eat a good fat, or a God fat like we like to call it, avocados, olive oils, your coconuts, it's going to come to this lipid bilayer and replace it, making it really nice and thick and make it inviting for all of these cell receptors to actually hear the nutrients that want to come in. When you eat a bad fat or a man-made fat, such as margarine, canola oil, and other trans fats, your body doesn't recognize those. And you know what? They're almost 1 element away from plastic. So when you eat them, your body is going to try and use it to the best of its ability. It's going to come to this outer bilayer, but instead of joining in and recreating it to make it nice and thick, it's actually just going to sit on top, thus clogging these receptors and killing it. Sugar is the second most reason why inflammation occurs. Your body needs to be at a 1-to-1 ratio of insulin to glucose. But in this country, with the standard American diet, that is very difficult. And this goes way beyond just skipping dessert. What we also mean by sugar is anything that is processed. All of our processed food additives, preservatives, color additives, and then of course the sugar added on top of all of that to make it palpable and taste the way it should have before all of this was added, is all sugar. So when you eat a hot dog, for example, your body is going to break it down and it is only going to recognize sugar. So all of this sugar is being sent to these cell receptors, are working at a very fast rate to try and bring all of the sugar into the cell, thus overworking the cell receptor and killing it. Once your cell receptor is gone, your cell can no longer hear the insulin, and that is exactly why type 2 diabetes happens. Another thing that sugar does is it fights with your minerals and vitamins and amino acids, and it blocks those receptors that they're attracted to, knocking the vitamins out of the way, and that's what we call an anti-nutrient. So not only is sugar not doing anything good for you, it is preventing the good from doing good for you. Sugar also is the #1 thing that feeds cancer. So now toxins can be found in your food with chemical preservatives, flavorings, even MSG, which is an excitotoxin. So what happens when those excitotoxins are brought to the cell is it truly excites these cell receptors, thinking that something is good for them, when really it's not anything good for them, but it excites them to the point of actual death. So when your cells are inflamed, we also call that oxidation. And when you're in a state of oxidation, you need an antioxidant, and one of the most powerful antioxidants in the world. It's 5,000 times more productive than, green tea or anything like that, blueberries. It's called glutathione. So GSH. And guess what? Your body makes glutathione. But GSH is very, very, very expensive. It takes 3 energy molecules to create just 1 GSH. So if your body is in a state where these receptors can no longer bring in the nutrients into the cell to create the energy, then the very energy that you need, which is GSH, is not able to be produced. And that is how the body responds to things like diabetes, thyroid, hypertension, and all these new millennium diseases that we're seeing today.